Cho'Gath was locked in, so there's the two-team comps. It is going to be Ari, Aurelia, Sona, Maokai, and Ezreal for alternate versus Jax, Ashe, Morgana, Cho'Gath, and Nunu for Curse. And it is all for a place in the semi-finals at Gay Paris, in the Casino de Paris. That will be on the 11th of November, and it will be versus Moscow 5 in the semi-finals. It's a daunting task in itself. But to make it to that finals is definitely going to be worth it. It's a pretty impressive venue. And these two teams, the European teams, fighting for a place effectively to become the kings of Europe, aka the Tales of the Lane, is the follow-on from that. And Jan, how would you take these two team comps? You'll be able to spec now as well.
Aha. In 1 second I'll be able to spec. Looking at these team comps, I really just see a lot of comfort coming out from alternate. They have shown that they like this play style, that they're able to perform it, they're able to execute. Kerp going up against Anguish is going to be the biggest change here. I think it's a good pick by Curse to get Jax over Shen in this match. You can tell the comfort level for Anguish is really, really high on Jax. That is his main. That is his most feared champion. The Nunu for Super A's is also something they've been incredibly potent on. The pick potential from Curse with Ashe Arrow, comboed with a Dark Binding, comboed with a Cho'Gath Initiate is really, really high as well. This is going to be another one of those games where I think we see a lot of team fight creation out of almost nothing, maybe a lot of split pushing, because both of these teams have fairly distinct things they want to put off. I'd like the synergy a bit more from alternate just because this is what they won with last game, and Curse has a couple untested things. The Cho'Gath, Morgana, and Ashe picks are something they haven't won with yet in this set. They're coming in a little cold with those. Still going to be a really close game, I think, though.
Yeah, so Cyanide obviously stepping in as a substitute at the moment for alternate, so it seems to be working okay for them. He's obviously a fanatic jungler. He is stepping in because Konex couldn't make it tonight, so stepping up for the team. These players, honestly, are all pretty close-knit, the top level European players. And interestingly, actually, someone brought up a good point, you know, the fact that obviously TSM, the North American scene at the moment, and how, whether how strong it is or weak it is, I don't know, because we've just seen Curse NA go across to China and get beaten by Acer. Now, Acer, I would put as an outside top 8 team in Europe.
Acer actually finished third in that 8-team tournament, so they did pretty well, in all honesty. Maybe they improved a fair bit there. That was an interesting tourney. I believe it was World Elite who won out over IG in the finals, but it's a good sign for the European teams here. We'll really get to see the strength of them once they all get to the offline event in Paris, because of the teams, you know, Moscow 5 and SK are the known entities. Whether anyone really challenges Moscow 5, since they're still proven to be on the Elite World stage, how close the level they have versus them, or whether they're able to surpass them in that event, will really key us off to see the overall strength of the European scene.
Yeah, and it'd be good for one of these up-and-coming teams to eventually qualify for one of these big American scenes and get over there and cause it, because we saw it with SK and Fnatic when they went to New York. They dominated when they went to these tournaments. You know, obviously we saw CLG and Moscow 5 seem to be the big kings of Europe right now. They obviously got joint third place in the World Finals, and they seem to be doing well, but it'd be nice to see some other teams starting to get in there, some new fresh blood, instead of your SKs, your Fnatics, your CLGs, your Moscow 5. It'd be nice to see a new name appear out of the mire, which will happen for Season 3.
It would be something to see, and we have to see a lot of growth. I can't imagine that there's only a handful of players that can play at the pro level. I think it's just a matter of more teams getting the funding, getting the sponsorships, and getting the commitment to really come together. And they've done a lot of roster swapping, which shows me that they're trying to really just find the right set of players to really, really go for it. And we haven't really been at the point where these teams have been capable of it. It's really been the teams with the sponsorships that are able to get the time in, which are able to fund going to LAN events. And I think as we get more and more of them and cheaper events for them to go to, more travel getting paid, things like that, we're going to see a lot more growth overall. And that'll be a really good thing to see.
Alternate. Just going to set the names up while I'm doing it. In fact, I'm going to make them a little bit brighter because they were terrible to read the last time around as well. Hopefully the game will get underway in a second. We're just waiting for the load screen, as you can see on the screen right now. But Jan, if you had to guess between these two, who would you say is going to make it to Moscow to play Moscow 5?
Right now, it's too close to call. I'd almost just based on experience think that Curse.EU might have an edge, but if I go based on the team comps and I go based on the results of the last game, I like to favor Team Alternate. It would be really cool to see Forellenlord make it to another big event, see if that team can come together, because Curse.EU has been a team for seemingly a lot longer than Alternate. And really, either one of these teams I'd be really happy seeing up against Moscow 5, but I can't actually make a call here.
You're not too sure, so we'll see. And game's got underway. Let me get into the game. That would be handy instead of you guys staring at a random screen. So, let's take it off directed as well. There's nothing worse than being on directed camera. As much as I love those AI guys, it's still not quite the same. So, let's see what they're going to do. Are we going to see any crazy invades? I would be very, very surprised, being that so much is on the line. However, we are seeing Extinct and Kraton going for a little bit of an invade here towards the golems. And Metalex, you can see on your screen, is just below there. Are they going to go towards the red?
They suspect it, though. You can see they suspected. They actually pinged down exactly where Curse was before. They didn't even have vision of them. Angus saw the ward come down. If there's only 2 members there, they don't know if they want to get aggressive or not.
He just didn't even react to that. And, well, he's going to get caught out and he's going to force back, but he didn't get taken down. The Ignite was used up. Just so slow reacting to that. Whether he was looking around the minimap and pinging, they really should have finished that one off. The 100% crit as well coming from Kraton. It should have been the nail in the coffin, but they just didn't have the damage to get the final kill. And Cyanide actually coming out okay. Did have to use a health pot though.
I mean, it was only 2 of them.
Yeah.
It was just the Morgana and the Ashe, and they almost destroyed him there. They burned the flash, but it takes an Ignite from Extinct, and that was really dangerous. Oh, Kerp and Anguish fighting over a Wraith.
They're fighting over the Wraith. They're going to get it. It's Forellenlord that picked it up, and Kerp backs away. Actually, what was it? Let's have a look. It was Forellenlord that picked up the gold, I believe. Oh, no. I tell a lie. It was Kerp. Kerp has the experience. So
that's actually a pretty big play for them, in all honesty. One of the big ways Anguish bullies the top lane is because he takes the race at the start of the game. He'll hit level 2 first, and then he'll shove him straight into the tower. He did the same thing to Shen in the first game, and he was attempting it again here. But with that Wraith denied, that now means Kerp is going to get the first level 2 and maybe be able to turn that back around onto Anguish. That's going to be a really interesting dynamic that I want to follow in the top lane here. In the bottom, Ashe vs Nunu very early on is going to be a really difficult lane for Kriachin and Super Rays. I don't know how they're going to deal with the poke potential of that bottom lane.
Well, it'd be nice if he reacted and moved out of the way of those Mystic shots to start with, because he just ate 2 of them straight in the face right at the start. And that was less than ideal. Bit of aggression up the top, though. Again, a little poke back and forward, as you'd expect. It's always the initial poke back and forward between the two. Also, the 2 mid lanes both returning. And look, Kraton already very, very low. Yeah, Metalex is just continuing to try and catch those Mystic shots onto him every little chance he gets. As soon as he shows himself a little bit too aggressive, Leo from Korea tries to get a bit more poke on him. Going aggressive. There's another Mystic shot. There's another poke in the face with the Q from Leo from Korea. But Super as goes a bit aggressive. They're going to try and turn this on towards Metalex. Have they got enough to try and avenge it? They do get the Ice Blast, and Metalex was forced to Arcane shift away there. Didn't have his flash. Didn't burn that out. It has got cleansed, by the way. Looking at the top, Kerp's going to get dived on. Kerp is going to be first blood. No, he's hung on. He turns around, but that is going to be eventually going down. It's Maluna that picked it up, tried to turn it around and get the stun on towards Anguish on the turret, but he does go down.
That's really big for Curse, and I have to hand it to Maluno and Anguish there. They realized, since Kerp had the Wraith, that he was going to get the early level 2 and try to play really aggressive onto Anguish. So Maluno was there to counteract that. He rushed the double buff, he rushed the gank top, and they were able to successfully destroy him there, which now gives Anguish, that scary, scary Jax, a big early lead in that lane, shoving that huge wave into the turret and denying Kerp a substantial amount of farm.
And Cyanide returns to the top lane just to frustrate Anguish and then walks off with that double buff. He's going to check out, put a ward in the tri-bush maybe. Nope. He's just going to keep trying to interrupt. He was trying to keep the interruption on towards Anguish. Anguish has gone back, and he's got himself a Doran's shield, which is something you often see, actually. The Asian teams starting to double stack those Doran shields, especially when they play on, and I can't think who it is, Shen, isn't it? They tend to do it on.
The Dorn Shield stack is something that's incredibly popular, and it's Shen and Vladimir generally see it more often, but I've still seen it on things like Aurelia. Getting it onto Jax, it's a little bit of surprise. It just gives you surprising amounts of stats and huge amounts of versatility. And bot lane, here they come.
They're going to go for it. They're going for Leo from Korea. Dodges out of the way of the rupture. Just about avoids the damage, but Maluna does manage to get in there. Super Raz actually was the one that picked up the kill. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, they can also see that Forellenlord was taken out very, very low by Extinct there. That was a straight, flat-out poke back and forward, and Forellenlord was almost destroyed, whereas Extinct has barely been touched. And for Extinct is trying to follow up on this one. Curse seemed to really have the advantage out at the moment, pushing the aggression on. Curb's going to try and shove that huge creep wave down Angush's throat and try and interrupt him as much as possible.
That was almost 3 lanes that pick up an early kill, and now Extinct also harassing on a Sign. They got to be careful that Maluno doesn't get him. If they land a Stark Bind, they might get a kill, but he dodges it.
He's going to use Maluno. Twister advances onto him, tries to dodge it, dodges out of the rupture, and he's forced to back away from this one. Maluno just being harassing as much as possible. They're going to go around and have another little tit for tat on the race, I feel. Yes, they will. Maluno comes around, smites it.
Use just smite first. Cyanide pretty clever to get out of that gank without having to use flash. Twisted advance, good rupture juke, so getting out of a tight situation without having to burn any resources. Let's take a look back up at the top lane. Angush still bullying onto Kerp. They have some, only really the one ward to prevent the Cyanide ganks, but they knew that he went towards the bottom side of the jungle because of that Wraith ward, so Angush knows he's free to harass Kerp as much as he pleases. Gonna try to take off on Jax yet again, and the Ashe lane in the bottom, 31 to 36, as well as picking up that assist, is working out much better than I would have expected it to at the start of the game. Really dealing with that poke quite well.
Yeah, looking at it as it stands at the moment, that mid lane is pretty even. They're going to dive in. They've caught Forellenlord with a rupture. There's the Dark Bind is landing. This may well be Forellenlord going down, but he does back away. Tries to flash the charm out to Extinct, just misses off the side there. Meanwhile, at the top lane, they're going to dive on towards Angush, and Cyanide coming in, but he just backed away already. He managed to leap strike onto one of his own minions, and again just clears out, continues on the harassment. This is going to be another lively game, I feel, chat.
It already is shaping up that way. Even though it's only 2 kills to 0, we've seen numerous lane engagements where people get extremely low and a lot of risky high aggression play. Ashe lane has actually pulled ahead of Metalex here, so Creatine and Super A's really knowing something about this new Ashe lane. They're zoning out Ezreal and Sona a bit. I have to say those Cho'Gath ganks that have came around have been extremely successful. Even Extinct with the counter pick of Morgana into Ahri. It's one of those things that you see it go either way. It's just a matter of, you know, Scar likes to call them skill matchups, is how well you play is going to decide what the better pick is. And right now it's Extinct.
So blue buff being picked up by Forellenlord in the middle there. And it looks like, yep, Extinct is going to have the exact same thing from Maluno. Meanwhile, Creaton gets a bit of damage down on the turret. You can see Metalex is trying his best to clear the creep waves. Leo from Korea is trying to do as much as he can to try and keep them at bay. Get that poke, get the power cord down on Creaton. Just keep anything to force him back. They do have, just off to the side there, Cyanide. So I wonder if he's going to maybe have a, try and force something onto this bottom lane. He will have to work his way towards the turret though, because there is a ward there. Yeah, and look at that. Ping directly on top of that. It says, no, don't go the tri-bush. There is a ward here. And instead, I think he might try and ninja his way around. Instead, oh, we got pings on Forellenlord because he's got stood on top of a ward. And he's going to catch, oh, no he's not, because that was a good use of the shield. And the black shield from Extinct. Are they going to, is he going to try and steal away the Wraith? Didn't quite manage to get it. Tried to have a little poke towards it.
Yeah, that's a lot of harass to take for one attempt at a Wraith. He's lost 400 health in all that engagement, but he is Morgana. He may spell vamp a lot of that up. He's still only 5 minion kills up onto Forellenlord, so coming back into that lane. And top, fight going down, Cho'Gath coming in, trying to stop Kerp.
And there's the rupture coming through, forces the flash. Kerp manages to get caught, but I think he might avoid the damage here. He's going to get onto the tower. He has got a creep wave, siege minion with it, and that will force him away. He's going to be safe. There's an Ashe arrow coming down the mid, and actually Forellenlord just getting out of the way of it. Don't know if he realized it was coming, but Extinct was certainly ready and waiting to go for it. They've had another engage while we're watching that top lane. You can see both of them low on health.
Both of them popped their ultimates. It probably was one of those Extinct throws an ultimate. Forellenlord probably popped his dashes to get out, break the chain, and then go back in, which is why they're both fairly low on health. really, that is such a close matchup and just a lot of fighting going on all over the map. Not many kills happening because of it. Really close matchups across the board, aside from the 2 kills, really giving most of the edge to Curse. If they can get a teamfight phase, or if they can get some successful roam, that's when we'll really see this game get broken open. Even though it's a 1.7 thousand gold advantage, it's still too close to call. And here's Cyanide, not going to jump in mid. Extinct could have taken him into the turret.
Yeah, thought about it, tried to maybe get a poke, but he wasn't too far ahead. And they do play still very low on health. Neither of them are going back yet. They both just want to hang on until they get that last little bit of farm out there. And you can see they're both at 1,200 and 1,100 gold. They want to finish off that item. They're waiting to try and stack
Oh, look
out.
at top. The
Oh,
patience of no.
Do they realize Maluna's there? I don't think they do, you know. I don't think, no, Kerp definitely doesn't. He would not have made that move. Manages the rupture, though, was missed quite easily by Kerp there. And he's going to walk away from this one. He's going to take a bit of damage in the back. He has got Cyanide coming up the river, but he's just immediately turned. And Cyanide, knowing that the jungler was there, is thinking, I'm going to take your wraiths away. Kerp's continuing to dodge. They're going to dive on towards Maluna. Twisted advance flash from Maluna, though, used. And I think that's all Cyanide wanted. I think he just said that, well, I'm fine with him putting the flash. Back away from this one. He's not going to have the chance, though. And Kurt might get taken down this one. And you can see he's having to try and juke out of the way, but Angus picks up the kill. True Shot Barrage does hit both of them. But unfortunately for them, we can see that Forellenlord had already gone back to buy, and Extinct was coming up the river. So it was the only one-way outcome for that one.
Cyanide getting a little over-aggressive onto Maluno there, not realizing how much stronger Angus was than Kerp. So Jax pulling farther and farther ahead. Sheen Rush, actually. It's one of those things, if he's just looking to trade packets of damage over and over, but not go for the full engagements, that's going to be his lane strategy up against Kerp. Going in on Extinct.
He's going for it. Has used the Ignite, has used his ultimate. He's got one little last bit of ultimate. Tries to use the balls, does manage to get it. Goes very deep and manages to make the kill count. He's going to take 2 tower hits.
The Ash Arrow.
Ash Arrow might land. It has landed, but nobody's there to follow up on it. And it took him to 100 health, and there was Maluno desperately racing down the middle, but it wasn't close enough. Now Cyanide and Anguish having a little poke back and forward in that top lane. Cyanide's got to be careful. Anguish is starting to tilt here. He's got the Sheen already, so he's going to have that perk. They're going to dive and twist and advance on towards Anguish there. Takes a few tower hits. Now Kerp's going to go in, but Kerp takes a big whack from the Sheen there, and the tower as well, and he can't get and dive on that one.
But with that, there's now 2 members up here, and they know nobody can actually counter it immediately. Will they try to push the turret? Actually, Kerp very low. Maluno not going up there to stop the tower. Now he is. Boots of mobility, letting that giant Shogath fly up there. Going to save the tower. A lot of health by him coming to save that. And Kerp might actually be in a bit of trouble here, but he's very elusive on Aurelia.
Yeah, Maluno gets a little poke and then says, right, back to farming. We'll miss the gold. Miss some CS. Let's have a look down the bottom lane. Wow! 8 hit points left on the turret. That is gone. Gone with the next hit, and that has really been a big shove lane for those guys, because they have just dominated. Looking back at the other turret, look at that. 1,794 hit points on it. They have dominated that bottom lane. And in terms of CS, very much even, but they've really shoved it.
Yeah, I really got to hand it to Super A's and Creatine, because typically the Sona beats out the Nunu in lane, and Ashe is not known for her particularly strong laning. They may have just turned around so much advantage from that early Maluno kill, but other than that, you got to really know that lane, and maybe in order to pull that kind of stuff off. So the turret really helping out their team, pushing the gold now to 3K, and even with all that, all the Ashe arrows have been used as kill attempts elsewhere on the map, so they did all of that pushing without even using Ashe's ultimate. Really impressive play there by Curse.
Here comes Angus coming in towards the mid lane. He's got that counter-strike running already, but Forellenlord used that ultimate to dash and dodge out the way of that attempt. And he's very slippery to pin down. With that kill advantage, he's starting to feel a little bit more confident, you feel, in his movements. So Super has coming up the river. There is 4 members of Alternate around this dragon area. I wonder if there's going to be any dragon attempts. We are at 14 minutes gone. And Angus, is picking up the red buff. Kerp is at the top, so they could certainly trade the tower for a dragon. And you can see, actually, Maluno and Super thinking of leashing it out here. They have got Ashe just below. But as it stands, they're not going to go for it. And yeah, and Angus is going to go back to top to try and keep Kerp away from his turret.
Angus doing a lot of roaming as Jax, in all honesty, trying to create as much pressure on the map as he can. Now that bottom turret is gone, let's see what Curse tries to do. They might go towards the mid lane and just try to push this down with 4, but a blue buff Forellenlord, another Ash Arrow goes out, misses wide. They get the Rupture though. Let's see if they can take it.
Dark Binding catches him. He's going to get dropped easily there, no doubt about that one. And they do just manage to get in. Curb now coming in, going aggressive. He's got to be careful. He's been caught with the Dark Binding. The Rupture comes through. There's just so much stun control. And Curb having to get a blast of a heal to keep himself alive. And now Leo from Korea. Oh, and Angus, sorry, I missed that one. Curb just coming straight round the side, jumping on him, assassinating him out of the side of the bushes there. And they will. Curse suddenly decided, right, time for 5v5. It's like CLG, but 15 minutes earlier.
And this is that initiation chain that they want to pull off. They just have to land one of their initiations. It could be the Ash Arrow, could be a Dark Binding, could be a Rupture, or it could be Jax. And if they get one, everything else can chain. And you saw Forellenlord did miss his flash in that environment, but it created the turret kill, it created the 2 turret kills, and now they can actually peel off and get a dragon. So that is a huge heap of global gold. 2 extra turrets and an extra dragon, and really just exploding. They seem to be sleeping for a while, but winning the lane slightly, and now they've really exploded their advantage here.
And they catch Cyanide with the Dark Binding. It's like Extinct just turned and flicked the switch, and suddenly all the Dark Bindings have started landing without fail. While this is all happening, Kraton now has got a monster wave down the bottom as well that he can farm out, so he's going to clear all that out. Metalix is coming back down. They're going to try and dive onto Kraton here. They're going to stack around the backside. Kraton finally realized it. Hawkshot comes out. He is a dead man. Here comes Cyanide. Cyanide's going to take the hits. He's going to get Twisted Advance. Who are they going to give it to? I guess they're going to give it across to Metalix. Yes, they will. And they will pick that up for easiness. And they will also take the turret with it. So, they're going to lose a lot of damage in this mid lane though, because Anguish and Extinct are coming in. They're going to react to this one. Anguish, if they let Jax loose on that mid turret, on the base turret, he could do a hell of a lot of damage. Forellenlord's coming around the back side. He is going to back off from this one.
And I have to say, Alternate is better than almost all the other teams at getting the last hit to their 80 carry in kills. Every time they've done a gank on the bottom lane, in all 3 games, they're getting the kill to Metalix, and that is just an exceptional job by them, making sure they get the gold on the right members. Curse, though, 4 in this jungle, they're a little scary. They probably have to back out because Creatine on Ashe is nowhere close. Forellenlord kind of contained them in. Super A's got to run out of here. He might have to burn a flash. Yep, there he goes.
Had to burn the flash, and they're going to continue diving. Forellenlord's used his ultimate. Well, if he used the ulti, why didn't he continue on and you get that charm, make sure it landed? Instead, he had to be careful, and they just backed off. So, ultimate used on Forellenlord. Are they going to turn this into anything? Are they going to try and push the mid? I'm not sure if they've got enough of a creep wave, and certainly there's not enough there, because Curse have got the full stack. They're all back. Anguish is coming around just at the top there. And the Ash Arrow's gone in. Whiff straight through the middle, though. Maluna is now taking a lot of damage, but here comes Anguish jumping onto Curb. Curb trying his best to burn down Maluna. Crescendo lands on towards Kraton and Extinct, but it's not going to be enough. And now Extinct comes in. Extinct pops his ultimate. Anguish is taken very, very low. He does get taken down. Metalix going full on aggression. He's going to try and take down. He gets a double kill. He gets dropped. That's going to be Super Ash dropped as well, and that's going to be a shutdown by Ash. And now Kraton gets the slow on towards Cyanide. Dark Binding will come out any second. He flashes, misses the Dark Binding, and Kraton will continue back to farm an alternate back away. And that was a 3 for 2 actually in favor of alternate.
That's the kind of fights Alternate needs to take. Yeah, the top turret, the 3 for 2. Really, despite having a large disadvantage at the start of that fight, it was a matter of the initiates from Curse not landing. The Ash Arrow field goal, the Dark Binding missed, the Morgana ultimate only hit on a few members, and it was a matter of Kerp diving in really hard and creating a lot of attention away from his damage dealers, which allowed Metalix to also dive in and then pick up 2 kills. Very fortunate team fight for Alternate there. If any of those initiations would have landed, the Rupture missed, the Dark Binding missed, the Enchanted Crystal Arrow missed, they would have lost that fight quite badly, but because they avoided everything, they came out on top. They need to do more of that.
Yeah, and I feel that I don't think Morgana had actually gone back after the initial fight. I just don't think Extinct had backed off just yet. So, hadn't been back to buy, hadn't spent that big stack of gold that he no doubt had, because he'd picked up a couple of kills and assists to start with. So, now completed the Zhonya's Hourglass. Which, you know, these are the sort of power sway. Oh, where's the arrow going? Where are they aiming that one at? I'm not too sure. That was a wild arrow.
Yeah. Creatine needs to work on his geometry a little bit. There's no way they were running at that angle after the blue buff. Another missed arrow. They need to capitalize on some of these. You bring Ash for that initiation. They actually haven't successfully picked one off with that, so they laned extremely strongly with Ash Nunu. But the transition does seem a little bit lacking right now. Got to pick up the slack there with that initiation train they have.
So Creaton farms up a little bit. Angus turns to top lane, and Forellenlord immediately evacuates that lane. Doesn't want to mess with it. And are we getting into the similar situation, Jack, of game one? Is Angus going to get overfed and destroy the opposition?
It's looking like there's the potential for that to happen, because that's an early Trinity Force for Jax. He's got a 1,200 gold advantage on his lane opponent, Kerp, who actually rushed an Aegis of the Legion just because, not entirely sure why, but he wanted to make sure he had teamfight impact, knowing how important it was early on. There's an Aegis on both sides. Curse's Maluno has picked it up as well on Cho'Gath, so no real teamfight or advantage coming out from either team. The Athene's Unholy Grail, of course, coming out onto Forellenlord. He builds that seemingly every single game. Really big landmark items have been completed across the board. 80 carries, deferring builds, Trinity Force on Metalix, and Infinity Edge on Creatum. That makes sense for both of them. Obviously, Ezreal proccing many more Trinity Forces. Ashe gets that Infinity Edge to amplify her crit from her passive as well as just generally trading people down. Still got to think, Curse has the edge here. Every fight gets to start if they land their spells. It's just a matter of getting it done. Alternate really playing passive here, hoping Curse blows their initiations and then they'll go to turn it in. But if they just went to initiate, it wouldn't work out very well for Alternate.
So how do you stack the damage currently between the two ADs? We've got an Infinity Edge and a couple of Dorans versus the Trinity Force and a Pickaxe.
If they're in a straight-up duel, Metalex is going to win out. I think that's also because of the Ninja Tabby and because he's proccing the Trinity Force more and more. If it's based on utility, I have to give it to Creaton because he's able to slow more members and create more cutting opportunities for his team. Straight-up damage, edges on Ezreal's case, and I think that's going to be what happens throughout this entire game unless he gets ridiculously far ahead. You really bring Ashe for the arrow, for the sight, for the utility. It's just a matter of capitalizing on those things.
Curse looking like they're going to get a Dragon for free. Are they going to try and counter this one with the Baron? Oh, no. They were stomping straight up there, but they've immediately backed off. And they've just used the Ezreal True Shot Barrage to spot it out. They knew the Dragon was there, so they realized that they've just picked it up. There goes the arrow. The arrow's going through. A flashed out this time from Leo from Korea, but honestly, even if it had landed, I don't think they'd close the gap quick enough. I think maybe would have got in there. Angus is going to clear things out. But the way the game is flowing right now, Curse seem to be the bully.
They have so much control, and actually...
They're diving on towards him. They will try and pop it. Maokai using his ulti. Cyanide going very aggressive. Now he's just realized now he's in trouble. He's walked straight in towards Angus. Angus backs away. Pops his counter-strike. Hasn't gone for anything. Super Az is going to get away. Wow! Twisted Advance going all the way through on towards Super Az there. Extinct is taking down Leo from Korea. And that's going to be Maluno coming in, feasting on Forellenlord as Super Az gets dropped. And now they turn on towards Metalix and Kerp. Kerp's going to get taken down. Angus is continuing on. Double kill for Extinct though. He's picking up the damage. And then that Twisted Advance, Cyanide rapidly trying to escape out of this one. Angus is going to come out the side. He's going to be able to leap. He manages to get on towards Metalix. Doesn't get the stun down in time, but he does have a quick burst spike of damage. Cyanide desperately trying to dodge the rupture, but it's only to his death. And that is a double kill for Angus. And an Oracle being burnt, and that is a quick ace. And well, all that came from someone backing off.
And remember the Jax that we talked about. Angus hasn't reached that point yet, and he hadn't actually shot before that fight. So now he's got 1,000 gold. He does have that. Never mind, he upgraded his boots to Mercury Treads before that fight, but that was mainly a 4v5 for the most part for Curse until Maluno came in at the tail end of it, and they were still even in that fight until Maluno showed up to turn the tides. And if Angus lasts until that point in the team fight, he's going to clean up like that. Jax, really the definition of a ramping threat in those team fights, just picks up more and more and more damage as it goes on. They were able to focus down Creaton at the start of that fight, but really, maybe too many threats coming out now for Curse. Losing that fight, even though getting initiated on 4v5, no sorry, winning that fight despite getting initiated on 4v5, will make Alternate very cautious into what they want to do next. They haven't really picked up anything substantial since the last fight, so they got to really proceed with so much caution. They were already getting bullied by Curse. And that seems like it's just going to continue.
Yeah, and in terms of gold across the board, you can see nearly a 2,000 gold advantage for Anguish over Kurt right now. That's a huge, huge difference. Also in the middle, there's the arrow coming through. It does land on Leo from Korea this time. It's still not managed to steal on that blue buff. You can see Maluna wants to get in there. There's the Dark Binding coming through. They didn't get a steal. The Forellenlord's going to get jumped on though. Anguish comes in. They have to use Crescendo on towards Anguish to force them back. Cyanide wanted to engage. They have managed to take down Ash. Ash was caught out at the side there. It was Kurt that managed to take him down. Trying to get on towards Maluna. They have managed to root on towards Maluna. Managed to catch him up. Kerb's not going to switch towards him. Kerb's actually going very deep and he's got himself caught towards the tri-bush, and Kerb has to back away from that one. Realise that Anguish was in there. They do take down Maluna though, so this is a good turnaround from Alternate. They could go for Baron here, Jat.
They got the Maluna down and Creation. That's two pretty big damage dealers for them. Anguish is also taken to about half health. He's going to try to heal up on the red buff here, but the Baron falling very quickly. They're trying to peel off actually for Curse, and here they come out of Super Raze.
Super Raze is going to get dropped. They do manage to take him down, and they can just go back. Baron hasn't reset yet. They kept the saplings in there to keep it active, and you can see Kerb on defensive duty there. Anguish is looking around there. He's going to walk towards it. Kerb might get caught out. Kerb dodges out of the way of the Dark Bindings, and now he's on towards Extinct. Extinct's got nothing. The Black Shield's gone down. He's had to use the Zonya's Hourglass. Rest of the team are going to come up. Baron's been taken down. Kerb picks up the kill there, and Anguish is now desperately coming away. This has turned so quickly for Alternate that Curse are just completely caught reeling.
Curse just hasn't been able to land the right initiations. At the start of that fight, it all came down around the blue buff. They split around the pillars trying to get the initiation, and they left no protection for Creation, so they're able to kill him off right at the start of the fight, and since there was no retaliation from that, it turned into a 4v5. Everyone on Curse was on the defensive, running away. They then turned the 5v3. They peeled off the Baron very effectively. They kept Extinct zoned. He actually had his ultimate and his Zonyas, and if Kerb hadn't zoned him off during that Baron engagement, it could have been trouble for Alternate, but really sticking together as a team, realizing where they were getting bullied and pouncing at exactly the right moments. There are very distinct windows in this game where Curse can and can't initiate, and Alternate is exploiting them expertly.
And so it is that, well, Curse are actually back to pushing lanes. So despite the fact they're down on the Baron, they don't seem too down on this one. They are still 4k gold advantage. Anguish is going to take this top turret down. He's just going to beat on it. It's that thud, thud, thud sound that you get of a man beating the hell out of your turret. But Fnatic, or, well, Alternate with the help of Fnatic, are certainly going to take down this middle turret. And now they're going to push through the middle. Anguish needs to react to this one. Forellenlord getting the Dark Binding caught in him. Alternate are going to continue pushing.
Another turret down.
Anguish is too far away here. That's going to be another inner turret down. Anguish is now walking in. He's coming in from the backside. They may try and engage on towards Alternate here, but it'd be engaging on a Baroned up team in the open. I'm not sure that's the wisest idea.
And also they'd have to deal with, if they initiate on to Fnatic, they'd pretty much end up fighting on top of Maokai's ultimate, which would, on top of all the health regen Baron grants, would be a very difficult fight for them to win. Of course, now Alternate backing away. They have yet to pull the gold even. They're still down about 3,000, which just goes to show you how far behind they really were at the start of all of that comeback. Curse still poking around very quickly, and it's, going to say it again, a matter of following up on a good Ash Arrow or following up on a good Dark Binding. They just have to chain their things together. If they do that, they still have a big edge. It's just a matter of Alternate has not allowed them to pull it off yet.
Yeah, Forellenlord now desperately trying to fend them off on the bottom here, and Curse immediately reacting. I think they're just trying to basically delay them, cause them problems, cause them issues, and just try and time out that Baron buff. They're going to try and pick up the Dragon here. They've got to try and delay them. They put the ward down, and they do not want to get caught out in engagement here. Metalex pops the True Shot Barrage across, and Curse have to peel off. They do pick up the Dragon. They quickly feast it, and then they run. And that was a good Dark Binding catching onto Kerb here. They're going to have to keep running. They're using Ash to try and volley shot, try and slow them down as much as possible. Kerb's going to try and cut them off around the side. The question is, are Alternate going to get caught out here? Forellenlord taken down very low here. They've engaged. Anguish has jumped in. Forellenlord gets dropped instantly. Twisted advance onto him. Crescendo goes across. Forellenlord taken down very low. Anguish goes in. Anguish takes down Kerb. Kerb will get dropped though, sorry, and as well as Anguish. And then Metalex is also just off in the bushes, using them bushes to a good advantage. Now he's been spotted. Maluna goes chasing. He is still kiting around, but they are turning on the rest of the team. Everybody backing away. And well, despite the fact they had that Baron, you just saw how quick, once Anguish got onto Forellenlord, he was squashed like a bug.
And that was a dark binding into an Ash Arrow into Jack's Counter-Strike, so they did chain an initiation onto a priority target, and despite the Baron being there, they even were just super close to picking up more kills here. Now Cyanide, great juke on the Rupture, saving his tail right there, even though they ended up losing the turret.
They do indeed. Curse not afraid to get involved there, and well, as rightly so, they felt they were comfortable, they felt confident in their team fighting abilities. If they did manage to catch it in the right situation, the crescendo I thought may turn it around actually. Leo from Korea did manage to catch a number of them, and we did see Kerp actually taking Anguish down, so Anguish was bursted down during the fight, but it took a Baron up team to do that. They haven't got Baron anymore. And now Anguish at 5-2-4 has got a Guardian Angels. That's a problem.
It's a big problem for them. Aurelia also going for an Amazon Paler, so she's only focused on diving onto Ashe, who now just picked up a Last Whisper. The sustained damage from Ashe on top of Nunu now for Creatine is actually really, really scary. I don't know if Kerp is going to be able to dive onto them anymore. Ari as well, yet to pick up that death cap. See the Zani's Hourglass coming down from Extinct. They're back in a control position actually. Curse bouncing back really well from losing that team fight and giving up that Baron. They didn't lose an inhibitor. They didn't lose their heads. They still kept farming. They kept their gold up. Really, they have the control again.
So as it stands, Curse seem to be back in control. I think it's safe to say. 5k gold difference. 5-4 in turrets. Very open game right now. 31 minutes gone. Baron already been gone down. Alternate managed to pick that one up. A couple of dragons gone to Curse. Turret-wise, is very much even. Both inner turrets up the mid lane, both down. All the outer turrets standing apart from the inner of the bottom. And where is? There is a ping down on Forellenlord. They know he's there, and they're closing in around him. The rest of Curse are closing in. Forellenlord's out of position. They're going to engage in the jungle though, and you can see Cyanide. The crescendo goes across, catches on towards Meluno, and Super as Meluno's taking a lot of damage here. He's in full size, and Cyanide's trying to put as much damage as he can down. You can see the absolute zero, but Creaton is getting shredded by Metlex there. Metlex uses his arcane shift very nicely, avoids the damage. Extinct pops him there. Extinct is going to manage to get the kill. Anguish rips them apart. Anguish ripping them down. Forellenlord, if he can turn around, but all he can do is pop the Guardian Angel, and the double kill for Anguish as he comes back out of a GA, and that is destruction derby for them. And alternate down to just Leo from Korea to try and defend and try and stop this mid push. It's not going to happen. Curse are going to take an inhibitor.
Guardian Angel strong from Anguish, and they couldn't quite finish off Creatine on Ashe. Curb desperately tried to dive through him as the rest of the fight happened below the red buff. That was a very good fight for Curse, and that was a matter of actually Fnatic initiating on them, but Curse still having all their initiation train to come in through the end of it. They landed a good Morgana ult that really split up the team exactly for them. That's an inhibitor. That's 7 turrets overall for the game. That's a 10,000 gold advantage. And man, they're getting scary.
Yeah, alternate definitely in trouble here. 12-18 and a 10k gold difference now. And, you know, just like we've seen many of the APs, I think they need to start banning out that Jax. That was a really good true shot barrage, actually. Cool. I say really good, he just went straight at the middle. Wasn't that that skillful to aim? I reckon I could manage that one. But he managed to wipe out a lot of the lane here. Metlax really did a lot of burst damage, and honestly, Creaton nearly got taken down in there. But as soon as Extinct and Angus showed up, it was game over. They are going to try and force a Baron here. I'm not sure that's the wisest choice for alternate. It's a desperation move, it seems, chat.
And Extinct trying to get the blue buff before they come over. If alternate knew that, they would have tried to do something, but there was just no way.
Angus coming around the back.
Of knowing. And here comes a flank. He's way ahead of his team. He's got to back off. If anything, Curse should try the Baron themselves and then do a peel initiate, since they do have Ash Arrow, Dark Binding, everything they could chain on top. And it would really force Fnatic. I keep looking at Cyanide and saying Fnatic. It would force alternate to jump in and close out this game. But instead, they're just trying to flank around Anguish, fearless with where he's running. I feel like Curse could take this Baron almost at any moment.
Well, the bottom turret's got a big mass of minions all around it, so they have to kind of go and deal with that. And yet, there you go. Curse are just going to see that, say thank you very much, we'll have the free Baron. So Alternate have obviously discussed that they're going to try and steal it with the True Shot Barrage, but it's way off. And there it goes through, blast through. So Metalix had to deal with it, they had to clear the super minions out, and now Alternate play the waiting game. They play and wait and see if they can defend against this. They're pinged onto the outer turret. Is that really the wisest choice?
It most likely is, because the inhibitor is down in middle, which means the bottom lane is going to push by itself since those creeps have 100 more health. Basically means that there's going to be a 4v5 onto this outer turret, and these turrets this far out, especially when a team has Baron, are just too difficult to defend, so they're taking this slow in a lot of ways. They're making sure they get that turret for sure, and then they probably have fairly easy access to the third inhibitor turret. And really, if you can ever get down 2 or 3 inhibitors, you pretty much guarantee yourself a game. Actually, they may be split pushing this here. We can see Anguish going down, might just try to take down that inhibitor himself. Nobody on Alternate can 1v1 him, so they have to send at least 2 members, which would leave the other turrets extremely exposed. This is a good strategy by Curse, applying pressure throughout the map.
And Anguish leaps straight on towards Metalix there, just cuts a good chunk of damage. Kraton comes around, he jumps back onto Metalix again, has to cleanse it off, but Anguish has to leap out, using Super Ass, and now they're going to manage to catch him with a crescendo, and as well, he hasn't got the Guardian Angel to try and bet him away here. Alternate might be able to catch a couple of them out here. Kraton's caught in trouble, his GA is going to get popped, no, he avoids the damage, and you can see Kerp, he wanted to get in there, fail flashed on towards Anguish. I think he desperately tried to close in and managed to catch onto him, but it did not happen. And Curse quickly disengaged there. Alternate bat them away for another couple of seconds there, and that's a bit of time wasted on that Baron buff. It's already, what, down to 2 minutes.
And that was a good plan for Curse, but not good execution. Anguish got way too overzealous during that dive, and he really left Creaton quite exposed. They were very lucky to not have Ashe lose his Guardian Angel here. Now they have to lifesteal and spell vamp up a whole bit. Oh, Extinct tried to flash over to execute Forellenlord after landing a Dark Binding, but ate the wall with his face, so there's no flash for Extinct for this next team fight. That's going to hurt a little bit. Looks like they're now slow pushing this top turret, taking it a little more slowly, not so aggressively.
Yeah, Leo for Career. Remember, he won't have Crescendo just yet. It's about 30 seconds off, I think. Yeah, 32 seconds away. And they are going to push on. I think they're going to have to back away from this one. Anguish is trying to get a look around the side. His GA will be up shortly. It's up in any second now. And as soon as that's up, I feel suicidal Anguish mode will kick in. And I think he's going to be leaping through there. He's still beating around there. And look at him, he's just causing problems going down the bottom. He's just going to get some free hits on this inhibitor and causing the entire team of Alternate to drag with him and leaving the top lane exposed. And now they've managed to come down. Kerp has said, right, I think I can deal with him, but I'm not sure, guys. I'm going to need help on this one. And Kerp is left for a 1v1 with him. He manages to stun up Anguish, doesn't want to deal with a straight-up trade fight. He is going to have to deal with it, though. Anguish leaps back onto him. Kerp is in all sorts of trouble. GA back up now, and now the rest of the team come around. Forellenlord's diving on towards Extinct. Extinct taking out very low. Extinct gets dropped there by Forellenlord, managing to get in. They're going to try and continue. They're going to come towards Creaton. Super As also being dived on. Now Anguish is going to come up behind him. Anguish is going to appear on the scene any moment now. Comes up around the side. Twisted advance. Forellenlord gets feasted on, but survives. Creaton's GA has been popped, but Anguish is on Kerp. Kerp continuing to try and keep him down there. Twisted advance onto him. Now we have to switch back and forward between them. Turret does go down, back over towards Anguish. Anguish is leaping on towards Cyanide. Cyanide very low. Still the GA has not been popped. They can't deal with a wild Anguish as he romps around the entire Alternate base. He's going to be able to take the inhibitor down. There goes the ultimate, coming out from Ezreal, but they back off and disengage. Job done. Another inhibitor taken down. All 3 inhibs now down, Jat. This is now surely Curse's to will lose.
They used the end of their Baron to the maximum of its extent. They were taking so much poke, but they just kept the pressure up. You could very well tell that their goal during that siege was not to kill or end the game, but instead sweep through the inhibitors because nobody on Alternate died. Extinct actually got caught by the charm at the start and died before he could pop his Zhonya's Hourglass, but it didn't matter. They kept the pressure up. Have not seen a team come back from 3 inhibitors down in a couple years. I'm going to be quite honest. The last time I saw it was during the Season 1 World Championships. I think it was one of the Chinese teams that did it, but it's going to be tough for Alternate to come back.
Probably requires a Twisted Fate to do some serious backdooring or Twitch or something. I don't know. just to get around the backside. So 13-8, massive goal difference. Towers down, everything down. 9 towers is the maximum. No inhibitors, and just nothing left standing. Decimated base. Just the 2 Nexus turrets at full health, I might add. They have not been touched yet.
Another reason the triple inhibitor is so devastating is instead of your normal 1 super creep spawning with every wave, you get 2, which means there's going to be 6 super minions arriving in their base at the same time, and all Curse pretty much has to do is just arrive with the triple wave. It means all the damage that Alternate would have to do to clear these 6 super minions is just going to give Curse the ability to fight them, and they're trying to initiate on right here.
They're trying to get on towards Kratos, but they didn't have the damage. Leo from Korea gets dropped instantaneously, as does Cyanide. Now Metalix is in trouble as well. Extinctus managed to catch up to him, pops the GA. While that's all happening, Kurt was round the back. He tried to get in there, but Creaton takes down. Creaton does get dropped. Metalix goes down. Ace comes through. Curse Gaming are going to Paris. They nom through them turrets. They nom through the Nexus. And what a fantastic performance from both teams. A 40-minute game, I think possibly the longest of the tournament as well. Certainly well fought out. But Curse.EU will go through to face Moscow 5 in the semi-finals on November 11th in the Casino de Paris. What a great game, Jat.